Hello, hello. All right, so for those of you who are new to my broadcast, my name is Jamie Casarda, and I am your holistic pet mentor. If you see a little bit of steam on the side, this is actually my little diffuser that I like to have next to me. And today, what we're going to talk about is natural wound care, things that you can do from home using your essential oils. And I'll also throw in some tips on what to do in an emergency if there's something more than a minor skin irritation or minor wound that you're taking care of. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Yes, it's Valentine's Day, and I figured, you know what way to love on our pets than to know how to take care of their wounds, right? Get it? Wound care. Care is in the. Okay, I tried. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about simple tips. The reason I pulled out my blades, my clipper blades, is because the first thing that we do when your pet has a skin injury or a skin wound is we have to clean it, right? So that's the first thing we're going to do, and that's the first thing I'm going to talk about is how to clean it. So whoever's here, I want to say hello. Thanks for joining on live. You're here live. Go ahead and you can comment, because then we can talk back and forth, and you can let me know where you're from, or maybe you can tell me your favorite animal or what pet you have, maybe a wound that you've had to deal with. I think all of us pet parents have had to deal with wound care for Valentine's Day. So I get that question a lot, and I had it come up quite a few times this week. So I thought, why don't I just talk about that this Sunday? So it is a really good idea for us pet parents to invest in clippers. If you have a dog or a cat with fur, you're going to need some clippers. Hey girl, long time no see. Hi Rhonda. So if you have a pet you're with fur, you need to have clippers. I love these clippers. I got them quite a while ago. They're Wall brand, WAHL. They're made in the United States. Oh, torn toenails. Yeah, we can talk about that. We've done that, haven't we, Rhonda? Hi, Barry. Happy Valentine's Day. So these are handy because there's no cord. So I get the cordless clippers because the cord, I'm telling you, gets in the way. I learned that the hard way. Yes, the cord, it's nice because you can just plug it in. You don't have to worry about that being charged. But I will tell you, this lithium ion battery lasts forever. I've had this a couple years, and I think I've only had to charge it once or twice. And I've shaved Buddha down several times since then with these clippers. And now I have Reese to groom as well, and I use these quite often to trim around his face, to trim his paws, and to trim his hiney. These come in handy. So I got a picture from a friend the other day of their dog who had eaten a stick, or maybe it was her friend's dog, but anyhow, I got pictures of this wound, which I often get pictures. That's okay, you can send me pictures, and I'll support you in any way that I can, guide you through that. But they had brought the dog to a vet several times, and the stick wound, it was looks like a big puncture wound, just would not heal no matter what. It just has not healed, and that's because pieces of stick were still working their way out of this dog's neck. It's a pretty deep. I mean, this stick must have went the whole way through. So sometimes wounds take a while because they need to heal from the inside out. So if you clean up a wound and you're scrubbing it and it doesn't seem to heal very quickly, or it doesn't want to scar up, there may be something deeper going on. There may be something embedded below the skin where you can't see. So it is a good idea to have a veterinarian take a look at it. But sometimes what the problem is when you're going to the vet and then you come back home and it opens back up, and you go to the vet and you're doing antibiotics, and there's this back and forth. That's going to take a lot of home care on your part, instead of just expecting to go to the vet and it be once and done and fixed. Sometimes that happens, once and done and fixed. And sometimes you've got a process that's going to take several weeks, especially if there's sticks involved, or it could take a couple months. And I know that's frustrating. Abscesses are like this, and ear hematomas can be like that too, where they they take a while. They take a lot on our part and consistency and really just doctoring that wound as best we can from home, because that short 15-minute office visit at the vet that then you walk out the door with a $300 to $500 bill, you can't keep doing that over and over, right? That's not going to fix it unless your dog just kind of lives there during that time or your cat lives there during that time. So we have to learn as pet parents how to take care of these wounds. So I thought this would be a good idea to talk about. Yes, and sometimes we have paw toenails that rip off, and that's a horrendous mess. So first thing you do when you have a wound, especially if it's a skin irritation, sometimes we see it with hot spots, sometimes we have lacerations or minor scrapes, or maybe it's just a matter of you took a tick off of your dog and there's a lump there. What do we do? Okay, the first thing we do is we got to clean that fur off. I like to shave the area so I have a nice area. I'm just touching I'm just making up spots on my face. Okay. Okay, well, pretend it's my arm, or I could get animal. Anyhow, you want to clean. So say you have a wound that is, the size of my fingernail. You're going to want to clean all around that area until you have healthy skin showing. So if you just have like a red spot here and you only shave the red spot, you might have it spread underneath that skin, or underneath that fur. So you want to shave that whole area and give a little bit of space all around that skin irritation. Okay, so you can really see that area, and then you can make sure it's shrinking and you don't have any fur in the way. Plus, when you clean it, you don't want to be scrubbing fur into an irritated area or a wound or anything like that. So it's good to just shave that off. Okay, that's first thing. Be really careful with your clippers so you don't make the skin irritation worse, right? So there's different settings on these clippers. I like this one because it's an adjustable clipper. So I can have it be really close to the skin. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is a very close cut to the skin. So it's going to shave it, nick it, okay? Naked. And then if I pull this back, then it's going to leave some peach fuzz. It's going to leave a little bit of fur there, okay? Which is fine, which is great if you're just grooming and you're doing a sanitary trim. But if you are doing wound care, you want to get that a bit closer and you want to really get that fur right off. But when you go to shave it off, you want to go along the skin, not down like this, because then we can start to pull up fur and cause more irritation. So we want to go straight across so we don't cut into their skin. Some of our senior pets, and some of you have senior pets like me, their skin gets saggy just like ours. And now I got some of that sag going on. You know what I mean? Look at that. But their skin gets saggy, and the problem that I'm having with my 21-year-old cat is that when I go to shave under his chin or his armpit, it gets sucked up into the blade. Yeah. And his belly is the same way. It's like I have to be so careful. He's got very thin skin, like a bunny rabbit. It would be very much like shaving a bunny rabbit. That's what it's like shaving a 21-year-old cat with, when he gets mats. It's not fun. So I have been trying to just work out his mats a different way. But anyhow, that's what you need to do, and just be very, very careful. You could try to use scissors. However, sometimes we create wounds with scissors. The clippers are the gentlest, safest way to go at home. You can try using scissors. However, many people end up cutting their pet skin. I did it one time and I will never do that again. It wasn't to Buddha or to Reese. It was to a dog that I had a long time ago, and I groomed her all the time, and I was real overly confident about it. And I did a snip, and she didn't even yelp or nothing, didn't even notice until I'm like washing her and I'm like, what's this? And there was a big old cut in her skin. So you have to be super careful, especially with sharp scissors. So I would just recommend get some clippers. Okay, enough about the clippers. Next thing you do is you're going to get some, if you can use spring water or filtered water, that'd be great, ideally, but you need some lukewarm room temperature water. You don't want it super cold because that's just going to irritate them or shock them a little bit where they're like, and they're jumping around. So You want to make them as comfortable as possible when you're trying to clean off a wound, because sometimes they don't understand what's going on. You want them to stay still. You want to be able to take care of it. So gentle. Okay, so I get some room temp or lukewarm water, and then I get a gauze. I always have first aid gauze in the house because you just never know when you're going to need it. And so you want some sterile gauze, and you're going to need a couple packs of this. You want to keep a lot on hand because you may need to use like a stack like this to clean some of these wounds that pets can get. Hopefully you never have to deal with anything like that, but you're ready just in case, okay? Especially if it happens and your vet's not around, or you have to drive, you know, for us, we have to drive 45 minutes one way or another to get to an emergency vet. So it's a really good idea to know how to do these things at home. The next thing that I use is this On Guard hand cleaner. We have an On Guard hand cleaner with the company with doTERRA. They make awesome essential oils. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, doTERRA essential oils are amazing. They have a hand soap, and the hand soap's really versatile. So it has a blend of essential oils in here that they can be a little sensitizing if it was too strong, but this is diluted down with water, and it just has eucalyptus, rosemary, cinnamon, clove, and wild orange in here. And those are highly antibacterial. They're very cleansing. They're amazing for cleaning the skin. And it's super gentle because, like I said, has some water in it already, and it's a foaming soap. So what I do is I take some warm water, dip this in, you're gonna wipe your wound first, and then you're gonna take a clean gauze, dip it in the water again, put some foaming soap on it, okay, I'll take it out of the packet, obviously, and then scrub that wound clean, okay? Now, if you have a deep wound, you don't want to get water and soap down into a deep wound. This is going to be more of your superficial wounds. If you have a deep wound, you're going to shave that fur and you're going to clean around the deep wound as best you can and try not to get stuff down in, okay? So we just clean that out. If you happen to have saline at home or something that you can use like that to flush a wound out, if it's got debris down in, that's great. You can try to do that. Or if you just want to clean the outside until you can get to a vet, just to help reduce the risk of it getting infected, okay? So the On Guard cleaning hand soap is amazing for that, hand soap. All right, so that's what we do. Then you're going to take another gauze, another sterile gauze, and you're going to dab it dry, okay? Once the area is dry, the next simple thing to do, if you have this on hand, I don't use like any ointments that have steroids in it. I don't use ointments that have antibiotics in it, okay? What I use is an essential oil ointment. This one's called Correctex. I love it. It's a combination of frankincense, helichrysum, cedarwood, melaleuca, and lavender. Now, typically, I say don't use melaleuca with pets, but as you can see in this ointment, it's diluted in a gel. So it's in this little clear gel, and it's heavily diluted, and it has several other essential oils with it. In fact, I can't even smell the tea tree in it, okay? So, and you use such a small amount, so it's even safe like if you had to use it on a kitten or a puppy, okay? Very, very small amount. And so you would just use that little bit. If they have an eye irritation, you would rub it around their eyes. If they have a skin wound, a scratch or scrape or an irritation, you would just put it right on there. You can either apply it with your hand or use a gauze if you don't want to touch the area. Or you can apply it around a puncture wound, and you don't want to infuse it in, okay? Just around is going to be plenty. If you do not have this ointment, it's a good idea to have a spray bottle ready to go, a glass spray bottle. This one is labeled itchy skin spray, but it's actually, I haven't made the itchy skin spray, I haven't needed it. I'll probably make something else in here. And I was about to make this for somebody else, I think, and then they needed something else. So what I would do is, put frankincense and lavender. And you can also use helichrysum for wound care. Helichrysum is great if there's bleeding involved. You want to get the helichrysum out. If and helichrysum is great for scars too, so you could go ahead and put it in this spray bottle. So this is a 2-ounce spray bottle. So I would do at least 5 drops of each frankincense, lavender, and helichrysum in the spray bottle, and that would be for like a kitten or a cat or a small dog. And then you top it off with either whole whey fractionated coconut oil, or what you can do is you can do about half fractionated coconut oil. And then I also like to use aloe vera for wound care. So you can either use the aloe vera gel, you can use the aloe vera juice, or you can just use distilled water. Okay, but it's got to be distilled water. I also like to add some vitamin E for skin. Yes, Peggy, I know. I have, yeah, I have used the Correctex quite a bit with cats, and we're not having any issues with it. It's so diluted in such a small amount that you need. They're not needing to metabolize a lot of it. So it's the biggest challenge with tea tree oil and pets is the length of time it takes for them to metabolize it. It takes them a long time. And if you think about it, a lot of these medications that we use, such as the topical spot-ons, it's the same problem, right? They take a month to metabolize. They hang out in the body and they make your pet's blood toxic to insects for a month. So that means it's not being filtered out. Well, that's the way tea tree is, okay? It's staying in their body. It's not being metabolized properly. So it takes about 24 hours. Way safer than the topical products, right? Way safer than those spot-on products for fleas and ticks. However, I still don't like to use it because just like those topical spot-ons, some pets are going to have a problem with that right away. But with this gel, it is absorbed so slowly and it's staying on the skin. And that's why it's perfect as a gel, is because it's staying on the skin. Now, if the cat is grooming it off right away, that could be a problem. We don't want them to groom it off right away. I think it's safe to do around the ears or around the eyes. But if you're putting it right on their paw, the cat might lick it off right away. So you'd have to put an e-collar. And so that's how I look at it, is how fast is it going to be absorbed? It's in a gel. It's going to be absorbed extremely slow unless they lick it right off. Okay, they're not likely to do that because I'm sure it doesn't taste amazing for a cat. So that's my theory in it, but we haven't had any issues with the Correctex. Okay, and if anybody has had issues using their Correctex on your pet, please let us know, because we're all able to learn from each other. All right. Okay, so that's like for the general minor wound care, and those are things that we all deal with from time to time. Reese went on a walk. This was in the fall when my daughter took him on a long walk. He came home and I'm petting him over, and I brush him several times a day. And I was like, "What's this on your neck, buddy?" And I was like, "Does he have a little skin tag? What is this?" And I look and it's a tick. Like, no, Grace, you got to spray him before he goes outside. We use an essential oil spray. She didn't think of it, and he hadn't been sprayed in a while with his little essential oil blend. So I have a special tick remover thing and just put that on and twist, and it came right out. But he reacted very badly to that tick bite. It left a big lump. It was very red and inflamed. So I shaved the area and I put a little bit of Correctex on there and it healed. About a week later, there was nothing there. So it did take some time and a little consistency with the Correctex, but it healed right up without any problems. So even for like little minor things like that, Correctex is fantastic. And like I said, I've used it for irritated eyes. I've used it anywhere there's skin irritation. Okay, now if you have a moist wound like a hot spot, they call them, where your pet is reacting, they often will react to tick bites like that, but flea bites can trigger it, food allergies, environmental allergies, chemical allergies, things can trigger these hot spots. They sometimes get them around the base of the tail. And you guys have probably seen them before or know what I'm talking about, but they get moist. It's usually just in a circle. So what we do is we shave that really good, clean it with your On Guard hand cleaner with the warm water and the gauze, dab it dry. And I've had people who used their Correct-X on it and it worked great. Other people had better luck using a tea bag. You steep the tea bag. I know this sounds a little odd, but there's, I think it's called catechins in the tea, okay, after you steep it. And you cool the tea bag, and then you add a drop of lavender to the tea bag, and you place it on the hot spot, okay? And you do this several times a day, and usually within a couple days you start to see the skin respond and it clears up on its own. And I'm like, that's amazing. Every pet parent should know this. Okay, every pet parent should know this, because I've seen so many hot spots come into veterinary hospitals. I've seen that be a problem, and it's a really simple solution that the pet parent can take care of at home. But if they don't know that, and no one's ever taught them, and no one's ever shared this with them, they're going to be spending hundreds of dollars at their local veterinarian to clean up something from a bug bite. Okay, so really easy solution there. Does anybody have any questions so far about wound care or anything in particular? I know Rhonda, she is a pro at torn toenails. Or if your dog has a wound where it won't stop bleeding, this is a frustration, isn't it? If they cut their paw pads, they're so fleshy and there's a lot of blood supply in those paw pads, or their nails, they tear a toenail, it gets caught on something. It's a horrible mess, isn't it? You'll see they're stepping everywhere and there's blood everywhere. Or even if you trim their toenail too short. Has anybody done that, where you're trimming their toenails and you're like, oh, I got them, darn it. And a lot of people won't do it. They won't trim their own pet's toenails because they are concerned that they're going to make them bleed. Okay. Yes, it can happen, but it's not the end of the world. And if you have flour, cornstarch, I like arrowroot powder, that's my favorite. You can use any of those things to help stop the bleeding. And I combine it with helichrysum. Remember I said helichrysum for bleeding. Always think helichrysum for bleeding. And I use the helichrysum oil with the arrowroot powder. I just put a drop right on top of that arrowroot powder, and I take their nail and I just dab it right in there, right into it. So the key is have it ready to go. Have that little bit of arrowroot powder, just like a little pile, maybe in a little cap or something. Have your helichrysum oil right there ready to go. And then if you quick them too quickly, always check, okay, and then dip them right in that powder and then hold it right there, and it stops it pretty much instantly. So don't be afraid, you learn. It does look like a mask. Same issue with ripping toenails. If your pet rips off their toenail, you're not going to necessarily use arrowroot powder for something like that, okay? But what you can do is take diluted helichrysum. And when I say diluted, I take about a teaspoon of fractionated coconut oil, and then I'll put maybe 2 to 3 drops of essential oil in there. And I'll try the diluted first. If that's not stopping it, you can take the helichrysum and you can drop it right on there, okay? But then you can take a gauze and you have to apply it and wrap their foot. So you would take a couple gauze bandages, and you need some wrapping tape, or what they call vet wrap, which is like that stretchy bandage material. And you're going to put that gauze on and then wrap their paw with a little bit of pressure, not so tight that you're cutting off circulation, right? You got to be able to stick 2 fingers in between the stretchy vet wrap material, the bandage material, and their paw, okay? But you need enough pressure on there to keep the bandage on there to help it clot, okay? So just like us, you want to put that pressure on, hold it there with a little bit of helichrysum, and you can see that calm down pretty quickly. You could even put the bandage on. I love this tip. You put the bandage on, you put the vet wrap, and take a sock, okay? Take a sock that you have at home, so your dog will be likely to leave that alone, or your cat, because I've seen cats have some issues too. And they will be less likely to rip their bandage off. You can take the sock, you can even tape the sock around the top, like the higher part of their leg. Okay. Paw pads, same thing. Okay, just like a ripped toenail. You're going to use some helichrysum on that. You're going to use gauze. You're going to use light pressure. And if you can get your dog, okay, think of an injury on a person. There's this thing we use called RICE, rest, ice, compression, and elevation. If you could get your dog to calm down, relax, you might need some lavender, might need some serenity. That paw pad, if they're running around and they're all worked up, it's going to bleed more. Okay. If we can get them to calm down and have them put their paw pads up, if you can cuddle them on the couch, maybe a couple of you holding them. However, some dogs are so high strung. I get it. Sometimes you can't get your dog to stay still, depending on what day time of day it happens. But if you can get them to calm down, it's going to help slow the blood flow and help the clotting. Okay, so and then you can also put an ice pack on it to help slow down that bleeding as well. But don't leave it on too long, because again, you don't want to freeze their foot. They can't tell you, hey, that's too long. Just kind of take maybe frozen peas, pack of frozen peas. Everybody has that at home, and stick that over top of the bandage. So you would have your bandage first, your gauze wrap. Make sure you have some of that stretchy wrap at home, and then you're going to apply maybe you can even put a hand towel around the peas, and that would ensure that you don't do any damage to their skin with the frozen peas or the ice. Okay, so those are my tips there. That's kind of an emergency, right? I've had people come to me with their pet's broken legs, or they wanted to know if it was broken, should they run to the vet, that type of thing. And luckily quite a few were not broken, so that was great. It was like, pretty sure this isn't broken, but if you want that peace of mind, go to the vet. If not, these are some things you can do at home to, if you want to just wait it out overnight and see if it improves on its own. And luckily, we've had several that it improved on its own. The ones that it was clearly broken, they went to the vet and got that confirmation, and we still had problems with healing. And we've had cats that I did a presentation on this with a cat that had a puncture wound, the leg broke from a dog bite. The surgery was too expensive. The pet parent was not able to have an amputation done, not able to go and get pinned. Those were the only offerings that the veterinarians had given her. And then she decided to try splinting it, and that was the last option. It did not go well. The splint did not go well. It got infected underneath. Even though they put the cat on antibiotics, her bill was still very, very expensive. And they wanted her to go back every week to change this bandage. Well, when she went back, she went to a different vet, and he wanted nothing to do with it. He said, go get it done at an orthopedic surgeon, because the foot was swollen, everything was infected, and I'm telling you, the leg looked black. So she had decided she was going to have the cat euthanized. So she let me know about that, and I said, let me just check and give this cat some relief, for the next 2 days. Let's use some oils to help with pain management, because that's got to hurt. So we took the bandage off, smelled horrific, and sprayed the leg down with a really awesome combo. For those who've been following for a while, then you probably saw that combo. Pretty sure it had helichrysum in it, marjoram, turmeric, lavender. I just put all kinds of really good pain relief, frankincense. I think copaiba was in there, and it was really strong. But again, the cat was slated to be euthanized on that Friday. That was a Wednesday, and we wanted to give the cat pain relief. So the pet parent sprayed the whole leg down like 5 times in a 24-hour period. I got a phone call the next day on Thursday night, and they said, you won't believe this. I went over, the leg looked, it looked amazing. The swelling went down. The color had returned to normal. There was no more smell. It no longer looked infected. It no longer smelled infected. We also had been diffusing immune supporting oils on guard in arborvitae in the room with the cat. The cat started limping on that, was actually putting weight on this paw And I'm telling you, my mind was blown. I touched where the break was because it was a compound. It was a bad fracture, and there had been a callus already forming, and that was after only a 2 or 3 week time frame. Um, Probably the coolest miracle I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen some really cool things, but that's in the top there, and that's how I knew like essential oils are amazing for wound care. I mean, they're amazing for wound care. So she had decided, hey, the cat doesn't need to be put to sleep. That's amazing, and that was several years ago, and the cat's still alive to this day, doing great. She's healthy as a horse. Walks normal. You would never know that she ever had that break. So it's pretty cool. And I still say, we definitely need our vets. We need that emergency care. There's lots of things we need help with, like blood work and just that oversight, having another set of eyes. And but it's really important that we know what we're doing at home as well, right? That we have some things that we can try, and not give up, because there's other things we can do. So I don't see any other questions. I see Peggy says, I think Smokey had a hot spot close to his hiney a couple years ago. Since I can't take him to the vet, I took a pic and the vet gave him meds, and this is good info. If that happens again, yay, Peggy, yes. There's so much we can do. It's surprising how I'm coming from that veterinary background where I had learned that we medicate everything, right? We use all kinds of medications. We do antibiotics for even simple wounds. We would give them cephalexin. We would use these chemicals to clean. We would use all kinds of disinfectants on their skin. And we really don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. There's so much we can do at home. It's less stress for your pet if you learn how to do these things. It's easier on your budget, right? So you can feed them better quality food, right? You can invest in tools that not only can you use on your pets, but you can use for your whole family. And you can, the food things are really important, because then we can have healthier pets with a longer lifespan. So that's my hope, is that by teaching you guys how to do these things, that you're more empowered with your pet care. You're more empowered. You don't get as worried when things happen. Instead of rushing for every little thing, because I see that happen so many times where the dog coughs, and it's a reverse sneeze, but the pet parent doesn't know that dogs can have reverse sneezes. This happens. They get an irritation in their sinuses, and they're breathing funny. It sounds like they're choking sometimes, and they rush to the vet thinking something horrible is happening. And it's a bad experience for everybody, right? So you're a little stressed. The dog starts thinking there's something wrong. It's hard on the wallet. So and I'm not saying I absolutely I don't do things to just save money. I just like to use my money and invest it wisely. I mean, I'm not cheap in any ways. I probably spend $100 a month just for one pet's food. Okay, it's just for, and I got two now, so I'm spending like about $200 a month just in their food. So I want to make sure that I can continue to do that. And then I also have a pet budget where I put money away, every month, just in case there's an emergency, or I want to do blood work, or if they need an x-ray, or anything that could come up that's an emergency. Dental care, right? Reese needs to go under and get his teeth thoroughly checked. And probably extracted. So that's going to be a pretty penny. So those are things that we plan for. We think about ahead of time. I know some people like pet insurance. I'm just not one to do the pet insurance. I rather budget the money myself, and then I know I have it when something comes up, because pet insurance, hit or miss. It might cover one thing, it might not cover another, and either way you might get stuck with a bill. So you might as well just be prepared to pay for those things. That's my view on pet insurance. Everybody has different viewpoints, but I'm not one to run to the vet for everything either. So hopefully this helps you guys. All right, is there any questions? And I don't know if you saw in my post, but I do have a Telegram account now. and I post a little more. I'm a little more, I don't know, I speak my mind a little bit more over on Telegram. Oh, there goes my son. So you're welcome to go check out and join my Telegram page. The only thing I noticed about Telegram is I'm not sure how to turn on the commenting for other people, but you get to see my posts. I just don't get to see your comments. So you'll have to send me a private message for comments if there's something on Telegram that you see that you wanted to talk to me about. But here I can see comments and I can do videos. So all right, everybody, have a great night, and I hope you had a happy Valentine's Day, and love on your pets, and do their wound care at home. And if you ever need any help or want a private one-on-one consult about nutrition or any healthcare issue, or even just you have a new puppy or you have a new cat and you want to do things holistic this time, I'm here for you. You can totally book a consult for that. I also do essential oil education. I'm an essential oil specialist. I'm a pet nutrition specialist. So those are the things that I really focus on. Have lots of information and knowledge on supplements and how we can use supplements to help support different things going on in our pets' bodies. So you can see the links there on how to book a private consult with me. So, all right, have a great night. Talk to you later. Bye. Bye, Rhonda. Bye, Peggy.